Hey Spoonie Farmers, Rachel the Spoonie Farmer here. I'm lying in my hammock and I'm reflecting on this concept that comes, in name at least, from the world of permaculture, which is an ecological garden and farm design system. And the concept is called prolonged and thoughtful observation. The idea is that before we do any designing, building, planting, growing, we experience prolonged and thoughtful observation. A lot of design sciences will tell you to do rapid observation and often still thoughtful, but not always. But one of the cool things about prolonged and thoughtful observation is it doesn't take that much and it doesn't take that long. So as I'm lying here resisting resting, it's always interesting to me how close the spellings of those two words are. But I need to rest. I've had a very intense day physically in good ways, and I'm about to be way past my capacity. I'm starting to feel bad when I'm standing up, which is par for the course for me, but it means I need to lay down. Means I need to be horizontal in terms of my circulatory and neurological systems. So I'm lying here in my hammock and um, thinking about the idea of forced rest, right? Rest that doesn't make us feel better, but we just have to do it because we can't not. Like we can't do other things. Um, the body is like, this is all I've got. As how can I like turn that into something for myself that doesn't feel so punishing? I think rest is beautiful, but it's really hard when the rest is non-consensual, even for those of us who practice consensual resting, choosing to rest. And so how can I feel engaged, interconnected, creative, empowered when I have to be horizontal, even if it doesn't feel psychologically restful for me to be horizontal. And so I've got a hammock, and that's one thing that I highly, highly recommend. And I'm just taking this as an invitation for some prolonged and thoughtful observation. Prolonged can mean 10 minutes, right? Whatever's longer than however long you usually observe. And in this case, we're trying sensory observation. So, whichever senses you have access to and it's pleasurable for you to engage with. So, I am using sight. Sometimes sight is not pleasurable for me to engage with. I get very light sensitive when I'm in a flare, or I get a lot of like floaters, or I get a migraine aura. And so sometimes I'll close my eyes when I'm doing this practice. So, sight is not ever a requirement, whether you have it or not, or don't want to use it, or can't use it. I'm using my ears. I'm noticing sounds. I'm noticing temperature. So there's a bunch of different sort of subcategories of the sense of touch, and they're really cool. I recommend looking into it. I'm sensing temperature. I'm sensing like locations where the hammock is putting pressure on my body. I'm also sensing motion. The hammock's moving a little bit, and where I am in space. Although I have some issues, that's called proprioception. I have some issues with that one, but for the most part, sensing that. Um, Noticing smells and just like the moisture content in the air. Noticing what's going on in my mouth, and other senses that you might have or not have, engage as pleasurable. And the thoughtful part isn't what I tend to do. It's not immediately going into analysis, analysis, um, creative thinking, designing, planning. It's curiosity, wonder. I wonder. I'm noticing that the hill is curved in this way, and I wonder if that means that water might run down it in a certain way if it were raining, right? And then my mind wants to jump to, okay, so what does that mean about how I should design this property for water usage and flows of water across the property? We're not in the design phase. We're in prolonged and thoughtful observation. And whether you just use prolonged and thoughtful observation as a meditative practice that is about the body and the senses and the bigger body of the world around you, or you want to connect it up to a design process, either is beautiful. But for me today, I'm using it as a way to be gardening while lying still so that I feel connected, creative, and like what I'm doing matters to me in more ways than one. I'm tending to my body, and I'm also doing pato, prolonged and thoughtful observation. What are you observing? What are 5 things you notice in your spot right now?